Today, I want to talk about something that I think is so important when it comes to business, digital marketing, and building any kind of online income stream. And that is your concept of yourself. Because a lot of people think that business is only about strategy. They think it's only about the website, the offer, the content, the product, the funnel, the emails, or the marketing. And yes, those things obviously do matter. But underneath all of that is a much deeper question. And that question is, who do you believe you are? Do you see yourself as someone who can actually build something? Do you see yourself as someone who can learn digital marketing? Do you see yourself as someone who can create income online? Do you see yourself as someone who is worthy of being seen, of being heard, of getting paid, of being trusted, of being taken seriously? Because your concept of yourself affects how you show up. If you see yourself as someone who always fails because of past failures, you will hesitate. If you see you're someone who is not good with technology, you will just avoid learning. If you see yourself as someone who is too late, too old, too behind, or not qualified enough, you will keep stopping before you even get momentum. And this is why identity matters so much in business, because business will bring up every old story you have about yourself. It'll bring up the fear, it will bring up doubt, it will bring up your relationship with money, it will bring up your fear of being visible, it'll bring up the part of you that wonders, who am I to do this? But what I'm learning is that the goal is not to wait until you feel completely confident. The goal is to start becoming the kind of person who takes aligned action even while she is still growing. That, my friend, is the shift. You stop asking, can I really do this? And you start asking, what is the next step I need to take here? And that is such a powerful shift because successful people are not successful because they never feel fear. They are successful because they started to see themselves differently. They see themselves as learners. They see themselves as builders. They see themselves as people who can figure things out. And that is what I'm learning through this journey with digital marketing and with the Legacy Builders program that I'm sharing here with you. I'm just not learning how to build an online income stream. I'm also becoming the version of myself who believes she can actually build one. And I want to talk to you about how you actually do that. Because it's one thing to say, change your identity, but what does that actually mean in real life, right? How do you become someone new when your current reality still looks the same? How do you begin to see yourself differently when your bank account, your schedule, your confidence, or results have not caught up with you yet? So for me, there are 7 practical tools that I'm going to share with you that helps me, and I hope that it will help you as well. And the first tool is decide who you are becoming. Not vaguely, not just I want to be successful, but specifically ask yourself the following: who is the version of me who already has the business I want? How does she think? How does she speak? How does she handle fear? How does she use her time? How does she show up online? How does she make decisions? How does she respond when something does not work right away? Because the new identity has to be clear. For example, instead of saying, I am trying to start an online business, you might begin to say, I am becoming a woman who builds digital income with consistency and clarity. Instead of saying, I'm bad at tech, you might begin to say, I am learning the tools I need one step at a time. Instead of saying, I don't know what I'm doing, you might say, I am resourceful and I can learn. I can ask better questions. I can figure things out. That language matters because the words you repeat become the identity that you live from. The second tool that I use is I act from the new identity in small ways every day. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They think identity change has to be huge. They think they need to wake up as a completely different person overnight. But often, the new identity is built through small, repeated actions. If you want to become someone who builds online income, ask yourself, what would that version of me do today? Maybe she would watch one training. Maybe she would write one piece of content. Maybe she would record one short video. Maybe she would improve her landing page. Maybe she would tell one person about what she's building. Maybe she would stop scrolling and use that time to produce and build. It does not have to be dramatic. It just has to be consistent. Because every time you take action, you're giving yourself new evidence. Every video you post is evidence. Every email you write is evidence. Every landing page you create is evidence. Every time you keep going instead of quitting, you're teaching yourself. I am someone who follows through. I am someone who can learn. I am someone who can build. I am someone who is available for more freedom, more income, and more options. The third tool that I use is create evidence, not pressure. This is so important. A lot of people put pressure on themselves to become confident before they start. But confidence does not work that way. Confidence usually comes after evidence. You don't become confident by thinking about business forever. You become confident by doing the thing and realizing, I survived. You posted the video and survived. You made the offer and survived. You created the page. Guess what? You survived. You tried something new and gloriously you survived. And even if it wasn't perfect, you now have evidence that you are someone who takes action. That is why I think small wins are so powerful. Do not dismiss them. Give yourself grace. If you recorded one video, that matters. If you've learned one new tool, that certainly matters. If you finally understood what a funnel is, that matters. If you put your link in your bio, that matters. If you showed up when you wanted to hide, that matters. Those are not small things. Those are identity building moments. The fourth tool I use, rehearse the new version of yourself before the world confirms it. And this is a deeper one. Before your life changes externally, you often have to become familiar with the feeling of being that new person internally. And you can do this through journaling, visualization, prayer, meditation, or quiet reflection. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to trust myself? What would it feel like to know I can build something? What would it feel like to wake up and know I have created options for myself and my family? What would it feel like to no longer be dependent on one source of income? What would it feel like to have more time freedom and ownership of your schedule? And then allow yourself to sit in that feeling, not from desperation, not from forcing, but from alignment. Because the nervous system often needs repetition. If you have spent years seeing yourself as someone who struggles, doubts herself, or starts and stops, and then your body might not immediately feel safe becoming someone who is visible, paid, successful, or free. So you practice the feeling. You rehearse being calm. You rehearse being supported. You rehearse being capable. You rehearse being the woman who builds. The fifth tool, change your environment. Your identity is shaped by what you consume, who you listen to, what you watch, and what you repeatedly expose yourself to. If you are constantly surrounded by people who think everything is impossible, it becomes harder to believe in what is actually possible. If you are constantly consuming content that makes you feel behind, inadequate, or overwhelmed, it becomes harder to take aligned action. So, part of becoming a new version of yourself is asking, what am I allowing into my mind every day? Who am I learning from? What conversations am I part of? What content am I consuming? What communities am I in? This is one reason I believe being around people who are also building is so important and matters. Because when you are in an environment where people are learning, growing, taking action, it starts to normalize growth. You begin to think, maybe I can learn this too. Maybe I can build this too. Maybe this is not just for other people, and that matters. The sixth tool, stop waiting to feel ready. Readiness is sticky because if you wait until you feel fully ready, you'll probably be waiting forever. There will always be another course, another book, another video, another thing to fix, another reason to delay. But business requires movement. You do not have to be perfect to begin. You do not have to know everything to begin. You do not have to have a massive audience to begin. You do not have to have the perfect words to begin. You begin and then you refine. You begin and then you learn. You begin and then you become. That is the path. And I think this is such a big part of digital marketing, because digital marketing is not just about putting content online. It's learning how to communicate. It's learning how to serve. It's learning how to guide people toward a solution. It's about learning how to trust your voice. And only you can develop that by using it. The seventh tool is keep one promise to yourself every day. This is one of the simplest but most powerful ways to build a new identity. Do not make the promise so big that you avoid it. Make it simple. Something like, today I will watch one lesson. Today I will write one caption. Today I will record one short video. Today I will spend 30 minutes building my online business. Today I will not talk myself out of showing up. And when you keep that promise, you build self-trust. And self-trust is everything. Because when you trust yourself, you stop needing the perfect conditions. You stop needing constant motivation. You stop needing everyone to understand your vision. You become someone who leads herself. And that is business. Business will require you to lead yourself before anyone else sees the results. So when I talk about concept of self, I am not talking about pretending. I am not talking about fake confidence. I am talking about becoming the person who can hold the vision and take action. That is the work. That is why I believe identity is so important when it comes to success in business. because strategy gives you the steps, but identity determines whether you take them. Identity determines whether you keep going when the video gets no views. Identity determines whether you keep learning when the tech feels confusing. Identity determines whether you keep building when your results aren't instant. Identity determines whether you see a setback as proof you should quit or simply feedback that helps you adjust. For me, this digital marketing business through Legacy Builders has been part of that process. It gives me a practical roadmap for learning digital marketing and building an online income stream step by step. It is also helping me become the kind of confident woman who believes she can create something different, something more flexible, something more spacious, something that gives my family and myself more options, something that is not built on burnout or pressure or constantly forcing outcomes. And this is an invitation for you too. Maybe the next version of you is not waiting years down the road. Maybe she starts with one decision, one small action, one new belief, one promise kept, one moment where you decide, I am no longer only the person who dreams about freedom. I am becoming the person who builds it. So if you've been curious about digital marketing, online income, or learning how to build something that gives you more income, more flexibility, more options, please visit my website, thefreedomcollective.co. I've left a link in the description. This is where you can explore Legacy Builders and see if this is the next step for you. Because maybe the next version of you who builds something new does not arrive after everything is perfect. Maybe she arrives because you finally decide to begin. I encourage you to take a look at this opportunity and give yourself the permission to explore digital marketing as a business, as a wonderful online location independent business that you would personally fall in love with and become confident because it gives you the tools to do so. So, step by step, day by day, as you progress with this business in a box, you build, you learn, and you're supported. So, please go to the freedomcollective.co where you can get more information on how I live in Bali and make online income and having a wonderful time doing so. Bye now.